In this step, we're going to start assembling the column. Most of the column is assembled with bolts, but there are a few pieces that have to be glued up front. This is the top plate that will rotate and support the robot. This is the back wall of the column that's going to support all the gears. And these are two supports that will support the column as well as also provide the fitting for the embedded controller box that we'll build later. Now, the tabs for the column and the support pieces are longer than 1/8 of an inch. Now, it's done on purpose, so that way you could always have the option to reinforce the glue joint with a fillet from the back side. Generally, I found it not necessary, but for now, I still keep them long like this. That means that this top plate has to be kept off the table. Best thing to do is to take your newly glued bottom plate and use it as a base to elevate your top plate while these pieces are drying. Then what we're going to do is we're going to glue the column into the base here. I'm going to test fit all this first. Bring this up so you can see. And put a cross piece into the column this way. Now, there's lots of holes in the column. How can you tell which ones are going to be used for the column support as opposed to other things? Well, that's easy. The column has 3 tabs on it. There's only one sequence of holes here that has 3 tabs on each side. Here and here. So it's easy to identify. You can't accidentally plug these into some other set of holes on the column. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this, and then I'll come back and show you what the completed piece looks like. Okay, so I finished gluing. What I basically do is I put glue joints on the column supports along the edge facing the column and along the base. And I did that on both sides. And you pop them in. It actually aligns pretty easily. Key thing I need to point out, though, is that once this is set, and it actually sets quite quickly, the lengths here are so long that this column will form a natural 90-degree angle. So as long as everything is seated along the edges here, you're almost always guaranteed a 90-degree angle, or a 90 degree that's more than close enough for the tolerances this robot requires. So we're going to let this dry, and then we'll be ready to actually assemble the internals of the column. From here on out, the column is all nuts and bolts, which makes the column itself very easy to service if parts ever fail, broken teeth in gears, etc., etc. I've not had a problem with that, but the bottom line is you can definitely service the robot column and all the inner pieces. While the column is gluing up here and hardening, you may have noticed during the base assembly glue-up step that we didn't do anything with the servo box. There's a reason for that. The servo mount for the base is going to be left off for the moment. It will fit naturally in its little holes inside the bottom plate, but we want to get the servo assembled in here. We want to attach it, double check the alignment and the depth to make sure that the drive shaft of the servo is going to engage the top plate of the column when we're ready to do that. So for now, we're going to leave it off, and then we'll bring that back together and glue it once we're confident that everything's all lining up the way we want.